Hello everybody, I'm Gary and this is Physical Format Rock and Roll. This is another concert review video, but before I do it, if I'm going to review this concert, I think I should probably have the person with me that went to the concert. Please welcome to the show, Jeff Witcher. So anyway, Jeff and I just saw what is being billed as the Monkees present the Mike and Micky show. Of course, that's Michael Nesmith and Micky Dolenz of the Monkees. We just saw them in Northfield at the MGM North Park Theater, or whatever it's called. It's in a casino. And it is what's being billed as a farewell tour. Probably, I'm guessing it's the end of Michael Nesmith as far as doing live shows. I'm sure that Micky Dolenz will probably do some more shows somewhere down the road. He is quite the performer, and I feel like he will. But going by what we saw tonight, I'm pretty confident that Michael Nesmith will not be playing anymore.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of it, number one, he wasn't playing guitar at all.
Right, which was really weird. I saw this tour a few years ago, and basically the same type thing. And he played guitar the entire time. He did not play guitar. He had, what did he have? Open heart surgery? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think right before the pandemic, he had open heart surgery.
Yeah, and it shows. He looks a little bit on the frail side, but this is kind of one of those shows to me where it's not just the music, but there's an emotional factor to it. You said it when we were at the show. There's something about just being there, seeing these guys. I have a world of respect for Michael Nesmith as a singer-songwriter, and just the fact that being thrown into the whole Monkees machine, but yet he managed to get them to become an actual band. And he's written a ton of great songs, and a lot of people don't realize that. So just to be there with him and Micky Dolenz, who is really one of the better singers in 60s rock and pop, totally undervalued or underestimated, whatever the word would be. It was just great being there with them. Are they what they were? No. I mean, they're, Michael Nesmith is I don't want to say anything derogatory, but he is somewhat a shell of what he was.
Yeah, he's very frail, and that's a thing I think you notice kind of immediately is the fact, he's sitting down for a lot of it. He's not playing guitar. When he sings, at some points, he's kind of struggling to keep up with the tempo of the song. Like they did the song Love Is Only Sleeping, and that was kind of where I really noticed he was having trouble keeping up.
Yeah.
The band was one verse ahead, like one stanza ahead of him, and he's struggling to kind of keep up with where the band is at vocally. I think it's hard, and I don't begrudge him that. I don't think it's because he's not trying. I think it's because of his advanced age, because of the health problems that he's had. But he was up there. He gave it a great performance, I think, considering, all of what he's been through. And I think it was very emotional for him. And I think when you attend a concert with an artist or a band that is of that advanced age, and you never know, is this going to be, and I think we do know, this is going to be the last time that Mike Nesmith performs in front of an audience. I think it's more sort of like the audience showing their appreciation for the artist, in as much as they don't come because they're thinking, oh, well, the Monkees are going to sound like they did in 1986.
Right.
They're going to sound like they did in the 1990s. No, they're not. But you show up because you want to show that artist how much their music meant to them. Being there, supporting that artist, applauding, standing up, showing that love for that artist. And Mike, definitely, you could tell, and I don't know how many performances they've given already this year, but he was choking up when he did the song. They did the song While I Cry off of the Instant Replay album, and he had a very emotional speech that he gave before that song. Just
probably one of the highlights of the show.
Yeah.
At least in my mind.
Yeah. And he was getting choked up. I mean, he was getting emotional. It wasn't a put on. It's not an act. You could tell, like, he definitely appreciated that everybody was there, and that sort of symbiotic relationship that a band has with an audience, and that give and take. And Mike Nesmith, as you know, in the 1980s, when the Monkees united, Mike Nesmith didn't want to be any part of it. He wanted to distance himself. I'm not a Monkee. I've done so many other projects, and I want to be known for what I've done since the Monkees. In the 90s, I think sporadically, after the 80s, I think sporadically he was, performing with them here and there. They did the Justice album together. They, then Davy Jones passed away, and then they did the Good Times album together. And so I think Mike Nesmith, over time, he's definitely embraced his Monkees legacy. He's embraced the fans. So many times during the course of this concert, Mike Nesmith talked about how much it meant to him that people still loved their music. He loved performing for people. And I never realized, when they were singing some of the song lyrics, even though I know at the time they were young men, they were in their 20s, but some of the lyrics, like the one in Tapioca Tundra, where he was talking about, it cannot be a part of me, for now it's part of you.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, that is so, and he's like, gesturing towards the audience, like, it's part of you now. This music is now, a part of you. And every song that they did, you felt that, like, this was always about you.
I definitely liked his stories to go along when he was kind of explaining the songs. Exactly what Jeff was saying. I didn't really examine some of these lyrics until he was saying how some of these songs were about, you, the audience, and us, and our, relationship and everything. And the fact that him explaining that now and doing it, that's something that I don't really, when I saw him a few years ago, I don't remember him explaining it. He definitely did not seem as sentimental as he did tonight. And you were talking about the tempo aspect. Some of the songs, that they did slow down, it added a dramatic effect to it, and an emotional effect. And it was, I especially liked, I felt like things kicked off even more in the second half of the show. They do an intermission during the show, and I think the second half was even more emotional.
Yeah, no, definitely. In fact, the first song that they did when they came back, and it was just Micky on stage with the band when they came back on. Mike was not on for the first song, but that was Porpoise Song, yeah. And it really was a great way to pay tribute to their legacy, and they're talking about all the great songwriters that they were blessed to have been able to interpret their songs. Carole King and Jerry Goffin, Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, D.L. Diamond, Harry Nilsson, all the classic songwriters, the Brill Building songwriters, if you will. And one of the things that really struck me, and because it was definitely celebrating the Monkees' legacy, is the fact so many of the songs that they performed, they were competing against the top songwriters of the day for space on Monkees albums, and they were holding their own. I mean, as we're listening to song after song, and you're thinking, well, that was off the first album, that was off the second album. I mean, they're sharing space.
And you're thinking of albums that were out like around that time, like Revolver and Aftermath and Pet Sounds and Motown hits around that. Yeah, you're right. They they were competing against some of the greatest songs and songwriters and one of the greatest musical eras of all time. And here we are remembering these songs, and it's great too because we're both Monkees fans. Obviously, Jeff probably has a little bit more knowledge of them than I do, and we were both happy with the show. They do the hits, they do plenty of deep tracks. We both said, both satisfied, with the song selection. They didn't do Circle Sky, but they did all the other songs basically that I wanted to hear, and a few that I hadn't thought about. So they just the Monkees. I know some people don't take them seriously, which is a shame, because they were a great band, had a lot of songs, and they weren't. Yes, they started out as a prefabricated band, but they became a real band, and really just even those the first album, or their interpretations of songs were really good, and then they became it's an amazing story, really. And they're not even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Right.
I don't think, which is crazy when you think about it. But
Well, they came together as actors. I mean, there was no intention that this was going to be a real band. I mean, it was like any other TV show of the day where we did auditions, we hired the actors, we've got scripts, we're putting out the episodes, and there had to be music a part of it because they were a musical band. Well, the producers of the show and Don Kirshner, who was the musical director, they're like, we got the best songwriters. We just need you to come in and provide the vocal. We got the music taken care of. You're just going to come in. You're going to provide the vocals. And you've got Mike Nesmith, who is a latent songwriter, singer-songwriter, who is, to my mind, one of the great country rock singer-songwriters of all time. And he's submitting songs like Papa Jean's Blues, The Kind of Girl I Could Love. I mean, just classic tracks. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, yeah, we know you're talented, but like, we got this music, don't worry about it. And then by the time of the Headquarters album, they kind of like had enough. Like, okay, people see us as a band, we're talented musicians. And so, I mean, there was that, obviously the classic story whereby the Monkees wrested control of their musical direction from Don
Michael
Kirshner.
Nesmith punching the wall,
Right.
putting his fist through a wall, saying, "The next time, that's going to be you." I can't remember who was he talking to.
Don Kirshner.
Don Kirshner. Yeah, Don Kirshner, Weasley little guy. For those of you who don't remember him, a lot of you would probably remember him for Don Kirshner's rock concerts. It used to be on Saturday nights, which was a great show. But anyway, I digress. So I'm trying. My mind is kind of a blur now. But you mentioned Papa Jean's Blues. That was great. Porpoise song. I'm trying to think of some of the other highlights of the show.
For me personally, if you were to ask me what was the favorite song that they did, probably for me it would have been Annie's Municipal Court, which was off of the Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. Because this was a band, I mean, they had the slide guitar, country slide guitar. A lot of Mike Nesmith's songs tend to have a country feel to them. And Annie's Municipal Court was just one where I felt like they really shined because they got to stretch out. Both Micky and Mike were sharing vocals. They sounded great. Just a great workout. It's not a song that I've ever heard on a recording them perform live. And so to hear that and it's like, wow, this sounds like the record. It's very energetic. I love that song.
They had a good band. They had like a 7-piece band behind them, which admittedly propped them up at times, because they're doing the background vocals and everything to go along with them. So, hats off to those guys because they did a great job. Tapioca Tundra was performed. I thought that was pretty cool. Hearing that, For Pete's Sake, don't know, I've always liked that. That was the song that ended the show. If you remember the show, the Monkees, and that song that was in, that's what that song, which by Peter Tork. And they mentioned Peter Tork, they mentioned Davy Jones. They did Daydream Believer, and everybody kind of sings along with it. That was actually I'm not the biggest fan of that song, but that was a fun part of the show.
It's kind of their stairway to heaven. Like, okay, I've heard that a million times. If I never hear it again, and I know people go crazy for it. There's a sentimental attachment to it. Women are throwing their panties on stage when that song's playing. They all bum rush.
But in this case, it was Depends.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, they did 2 Davy Jones songs. They did A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You. They did Daydream Believer. They did As We Go Along off the Head soundtrack, which I thought was great. I would have loved that.
That was another highlight. As We Go Along. Yeah, I really thought that was really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a highlight to me too. A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You, with Micky singing it. That was fun. Mm-hmm. That was good too. That's the thing about the Monkees. They've got songs that are just fun. But then they also have like more serious songs. So
Sunny Girlfriend was another highlight.
That was good. Yeah, I like that. Overall, if you were just going there just for the performance, and you're not a diehard Monkees fan, you probably wouldn't have left real happy.
Yeah, and I was wondering, because I'm like, okay, security is here. They attend every single show, and I'm thinking like, well, I'm sure they're not converting any, people that are just here working the show. But it's not about that. It's about the fans. It's about the appreciation. People who have been Monkees fans for a long time, getting to show that appreciation to Micky and Mike doing their best to really honor the Monkees' legacy, especially in the wake of Peter Tork and Davy Jones no longer being around. It was really, emotional. I didn't tear up, but it certainly was it tugged at the heartstrings, because if you've been a Monkees fan as long as we have, you watched all the TV shows, just seeing them in the flesh for the first time up close like that, I thought was very cool. They gave it their best. Yeah.
Well, and basically, people of our age, we've never known a world without the Monkees, right? They've always been there. We were talking about our Monkees memories before the show, and I was telling them how when I was very young, it's actually one of my first TV memories. It was already in syndication, but it used to be on Saturday mornings, and I can remember seeing the Monkees show, and remember songs like I'm a Believer and Last Train to Clarksville that stuck in my head from when I was like 4 up until now, kind of thing. So yeah, like Jeff said, it is an emotion. If you are a Monkees fan, diehard Monkees fan, it's good to see. It's a good way to say goodbye, to celebrate the legacy, and show your appreciation. Pretty much everything he said. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was an enjoyable show. I mean, musically, were they better 20 years ago? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
they were better just a couple years ago. When I saw this. But at the same time, this is I'm glad I went. Well, plus because I got to go with you. So who wouldn't want to be with this guy? Come on. It was good.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they did one song off Good Times. They did, Death of an Accidental Hipster, which
is a great song.
And they did it as a medley with St. Matthew, which is kind of a, rare track. I think it's on one of the Missing Links.
What was the song I didn't, that they opened up with?
Good Clean Fun?
Yeah, I could not
remember. Off the Present album. And then they went into Last Train to Clarksville, which Micky totally botched like the first verse, and I was thinking like, oh, they must be doing it like to be funny, because I thought at some point they were like, no, stop the music, and then go into some kind of comedy routine.
Yeah, I was actually kind of worried at that point, the way he screwed that up. I'm like, oh my God, is he going to do this all kind of like Vegas-y style? Hey, last train, meet you, station, 'cause it was kind of screwed up, and then he kind of got got going along in it.
Yeah, because there were some lyrics that they talked more than they spoke more than they actually sang them.
Especially Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, the times when they did isolate him, and when he did kind of talk, sing, it was still pretty cool. I mean, like it was an emotional thing. You know, hey, like I said, I got all the respect in the world for Michael Nesmith, and so, you know, if this is goodbye, you know, it's been great. I'm glad I got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, that's our long-winded speeches about our review of the Monkees present the Mike and Micky show. Let us know your comments, anything you care to say. Until the next time, my friends, I'm Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll. This is
Jeff Witcher from Vinyl Destination.
If you haven't checked out his channel, which I know you have, but if you haven't, you got to check out his channel. He's definitely got one of the best channels in the entire vinyl community. So, till the next time, my friends, I will see you down the road.
Here we come, walking down the street.